I'm sitting here with Dr. Jane Goodall, the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute and even Messenger of Peace. And we're here to talk about tourism today. So, Dr. Jane, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
When we first partnered with the Jane Goodall Institute in 2016, you had mentioned at that time that you saw that tourism having incredible potential for both harm and good. So these words are very important to the travel industry and people in the travel industry. Your words are very important. Can you expand on this and share what drew you to want to partner with the travel industry?
Well, you know, when you spend a lot of time in the developing world and you care about conservation, it's kind of difficult. You find people are poaching because they're starving and they want money. So they either poach to get food to eat, or they poach to sell the meat or the ivory or whatever it is. And so, you know, tourism is one way that can bring money into a country. It pleases the government because they get foreign exchange. Local people get jobs. They get jobs as drivers, as guides, and then there's the whole tourist industry around hotels and that sort of thing. So as long as it's done right, the big problem is that when people, and this can be government too, and it can be national parks people saying, oh, well, we're making so much money from 6 people, we'll make double from 12 people, and then we'll make even more for 18 people. And so the very thing people go to see, which is wild animals being normal, is destroyed and ruined because there's just too many people. And I see this with my own eyes. There's also a lot of corruption. And again, you know, some of the guides, some of the national parks people, there's a rule, you don't get too close to an animal. But the tourist wants to get closer. They want to get a better shot. So can you take me closer? Well, the fine is $100 if you go too close. If you're prepared to pay $100 to national parks and $100 to me, I'll take you close. This happens.
When it comes to the global issues around climate change and biodiversity, if we can switch gears there are many companies that are doing great and many products that do great things. But often local communities are left out of that conversation. And so it leaves them wondering how they can help in preserving biodiversity. But your approach, your community-led approach to conservation is the complete opposite of that. And the preservation of wildlife is dependent, the success of it is dependent on engaging local communities. So can you just speak about the importance of that, getting that buy-in with local community to be successful when you want to achieve these goals?
I remember when it first hit me, I was shocked at a meeting to learn that right across Africa, chimp numbers were dropping, forests were being cut down. And I left that conference. I went as a scientist. I left as an activist, I suppose. I didn't know what to do. I had to do something. So I got money so I could visit the different chimp sites to see what the problems were. And yeah, I learned about the problems facing the chimps. But at the same time, I was learning about the problems faced by local people. Crippling poverty, lack of good education and health facilities, degradation of the land. And it came to a head. I flew over the tiny Gombe National Park. And when I began in 1960, it was part of a great forest. When I flew over in the mid-1980s, it was a little island of forest that was the park, surrounded by bare hills. And that's when it hit me. If we don't help these people find a way of living without destroying the forest, why are they cutting down the trees? To get some money from charcoal or timber, or to clear land to grow more food. Mm-hmm. And so it then struck me, you know, we can't save chimps, forests, or anything else unless these people have a way of making a living other than destroying the environment.
And also just being part of the conversation from the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you find that the importance of that increases the success of what you want to do?
Absolutely. There would be no chimps at Gombe if we hadn't started this program. We call it Takare, the Jane Goodall method of community-led conservation. And that's now, it started in the 12 villages around Gombe. And instead of a bunch of arrogant white people going in and telling them, this is what we'll do to make your lives better, no. It was local people, carefully chosen, 7 of them, They went into the villages and asked the people, what can we do to make your lives better? And they wanted better education, better health, and grow more food, which meant restoring fertility without chemicals. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we introduced microfinance so that poor villagers could start their own small, environmentally sustainable business, like having some chickens and eggs or a tree nursery. And we also brought in scholarships for girls so they could go to secondary school. And we also brought in family planning. Wow. And this meant that the local people, A, they started having better lives. B, they came to understand that protecting the forest wasn't just for wildlife. Yeah, it was for their own future.
I know, you did that so long ago, and that engagement is just so important, and we're still struggling with that today. And that's what, that community tourism, community development tied to these programs is so important. And so, as I said earlier, like when there's so many people doing good work, but they leave the communities out of that conversation. But how can tourism play a role in addition to the work that you're doing to provide even greater benefit?
Well, a lot of tourists, I find, when they actually see how people are living, they're shocked and they want to help. And I see that again and again. People come back, especially young people, and say, I just didn't realize that these people are living in a mud hut, and when it rains, that their house starts disintegrating. And then they go to work and they raise some money and send it out to the village that they saw to build a proper house. So, tourism is giving people a better understanding of what they didn't understand before, that people's lives can be so different. I mean, they take for granted we turn a switch and there's light, we turn a tap and there's water. These people have to go and march long distances and carry heavy buckets and have a little lamp at night.
Yeah, at Jude Ventures, we call that cultural heritage preservation, where we can create pride in their communities, which gives them a reason to stay in their communities, first of all, and also preserve the land around them and preserve their communities. But, you have a famous saying, and I wrote it here, only when we understand can we care, only when we care will we help, and only when we help shall we be saved. Which is an amazing quote, and again, very relevant to the travel industry, and your words are very important to the travel industry. How does travel fit into this equation of understanding, caring, and helping?
Well, I think, as I said before, when people see with their eyes how other people live, then they want to help. And many, many of them, indeed, they do help. Mm-hmm. Also, they see the result of poaching. And so they're moved to try and, the rangers who are supposed to be protecting the animals, they very often don't have proper uniforms. They don't have, they're very ill-equipped. And there they are risking their lives and often losing their lives to look after the animals, to protect them from poachers, and yet they're not properly equipped. Mm. People see that as well. At least if the travel guide goes out of their way to explain why these animals are being poached. Mm-hmm. And now, we've got groups of women rangers, and they're doing a super job. There are dogs now being trained to help track down the poachers. Mm-hmm. People and dogs showing a lot of courage. And this all can be part of the package that the tour guide will share with people. This is what's going on.
Do you see that there's an increase in the interest from travelers in the conservation work that you do? Like you mentioned that this is such an important thing that they see when they see that work. Travelers have not been interested in conservation on their holidays in the past, and we're seeing an increase in that. Have you seen that as well out in the field?
Well, we have tourists at Gombe National Park, mm-hmm. and they're pretty amazed at the kind of work we're doing. Mm-hmm. We do conservation science, and some of them will make donations to help us with the work. Some of them will help us make contact with an organization they know that can help. And, they go back and they spread the word. Mm-hmm. I think that's something really important.
That's really important, and actually takes us to our next question, which I'm going to quote you again. So a quote, reading your words: "What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make," which is, really important words. And, one of the challenges we have in the travel industry is educating the traveler. Now, the traveler is really the one that can create the change. They obviously have to buy the products, but also on the ground. We're constantly trying to, the number one question I get is, how can travelers travel better? Like, what can they do to travel better? How can individual travelers apply this mindset to their travel choices?
Well, there's an awful lot of ways. There are some very little ways that they can help, which I try to perfect because I'm traveling. And I know that there's emissions from the plane, but I would never go in a private plane, which some people do. And sometimes you have to, because there aren't any commercial airlines going to some of the national parks. But basically, everybody stays in a hotel. Well, I've seen people, okay, you go into your room, this little bar of soap all nicely wrapped up, bins with plastic lining. So I take my one little bar of soap from hotel to hotel. I always have some kind of paper bag from something. I put my trash in it. I don't use the plastic lining ever. And there's all sorts of little ways like that you can, I would never, ever allow a maid to come into my room and change the sheets and the towels. I keep them out so the room is mine while I'm there. Those are little things. But at the same time, what people can do to make a difference every day, you'd be surprised. I was in one hotel, and there was a man there, it was in Africa, and his job was to open the door for people. So they'd come sort of swanning down the stairs, and he'd open the door, and they'd sweep out. None of them stopped to say thank you. And a little thing like that can make somebody's day better. And you go into a public toilet, and there are these people, obviously nobody really wants to clean lavatories, but they've got to get a job, they've got to keep alive. And so I make a point of saying, thank you so much for keeping this place clean. And their faces light up. So, those are little things, but making somebody smile, making somebody happy, reporting if you see a dog being badly treated, just little things like that.
So I want to talk a little bit about your Roots and Shoots program, which I know you're super passionate about, and I'm super passionate about because I've had a chance to experience it myself. There's so many things that are great about that program. First of all, it's engaging youth, ideas, innovation. As an entrepreneur, I love that side of it, about connecting youth with ideas and innovation and the confidence to make their ideas heard and realize. That's the benefit that I got out of it. But now you're a UN messenger peace, and I'm a big believer in travel also being a path to peace. If people understood how people lived in other cultures around the world, there'd be more peace at home, I think. So just speaking about your Roots and Shoots program a bit, we at G believe about what can drive cultural understanding is travel. Can you speak a little bit just about engaging youth in some of the global issues that we face, hopefully in taking travel into consideration and tourism into consideration, what the benefits of engaging youth in some of the problems that we face and how important that is?
Well, I think as I travel around the world, I'm finding more and more people losing hope. And that includes university students, high school students. And it was that initially caused me to start Roots and Shoots. And that was way back in 1991. Already young people were losing hope. And I'm traveling all around the world. And they were angry, depressed, or just didn't seem to care. Why? Oh, they said, you're compromising our future. There's nothing we can do. Are we compromising their future? We're still doing it today. We're stealing their future with our materialistic society and our wasteful use of natural resources. But when they said there was nothing they could do, I thought, no, that's not true. So right from the beginning, the main message of Roots and Shoots was what you already said. Every day you live, you make an impact. You can choose what sort of impact you make. Because I learned about the interconnection of all living things. we decided right at the beginning, 12 students, that a group would choose 3 projects, one to help people, one to help animals, one to help the environment. And at the same time, they would learn about the problems, but then they would get to choose which of the problems they wanted to try to solve. Because then if you choose it, you're passionate. You roll up your sleeves, you take action. Once you start taking action and you see you make a difference, then you start to have hope. And the more difference you make, the more hope you get, and the more people will join you because they see that this is something exciting. And what started with 12 high school students in Tanzania now has members from preschool through university. It's in 76 countries. We try to bring young people together, usually virtually. And because we try to bring them from different parts of the world, they're beginning to understand that much more important than the color of your skin, your language, your culture, your religion even, is the fact we're all human. We all laugh, we all cry, we all hope, we all can go into despair. We're one family.
That's amazing. I mean, just the peace message in that is incredible. It's just looking ahead. What gives you the most hope around the future of travel and its potential to create positive change?
I think, one of the reasons what I feel hopeful is that there is much more awareness. There are more travel companies now who understand the importance of very carefully controlled tourism. There's more emphasis on training the guides, and there's more emphasis on helping travelers to behave in an appropriate way. There's a greater understanding of the fact that too many tourists, too much of a good thing in a way, too much money is damaging the future. People are beginning to understand that too many people destroying the very thing that people are paying money to come and see. I don't know very much about mass tourism. I think it's a problem.
Yeah, there's hotspots in the world where, we have a limited amount of iconic destinations, but the industry is growing so quickly. And so there's obviously hotspots, just like within biodiversity, there's hotspots that we have to be careful of. And the question becomes, who is the authority or who's the guardian of all of that? We have just a couple minutes, and if I can just ask you one more question, just some words to the travel industry. I really believe that the travel industry has such a powerful opportunity to aid in all the work that you do when it comes to biodiversity, engaging youth, women, poverty alleviation. There's so many ways in which travel can benefit the world and create transformation. Can you just say, in closing, a few words, wise words about the travel industry and what the travel industry can do?
Well, the travel industry, and especially when I'm thinking of the tourism, it benefits in so many ways. It benefits the country because it brings foreign exchange in. It benefits the travelers because they learn about situations face to face that they otherwise might read about, but it wouldn't really get home to them. So they care more. It benefits the animals because the local people are now prepared to look after them rather than kill them, because looking after them, they know that brings in more tourists. And it's basically spreading awareness about the problems. So I think, the travel industry, when it's done correctly and wisely, is a really good investment for the future of conservation and biodiversity.
Dr. Goodall, thank you for your time. Your words are very well heard within our industry and mean a lot to us. And I just want to just personally say my thanks to my relationship with you over the years and having met you a few times, and what it means to me and keeps us inspired to do the work that we do. So thanks again. You're the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute and UN Messenger of Peace, which is also a big message for us in the future. Peace and tourism is a huge issue with what's happening in the world right now. So just thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you.